Bengals draft, Daniel Jeremiah, and the Bengals schedule coming up next on the Wincinnati podcast.
Yes. Hello, world. We got a special show as always. TJ Houshmandzada, Jimmy Chase, Coach Jimmy Burrow.
Exciting time to be a Bengals
How do
fan.
you balance being a professional athlete and family obligation?
These are top 5 Bengals of all time.
All time, man.
Yeah.
Shock the world.
Welcome to the Wincinnati podcast. I am Ace Boogie. He is Zim Hude. Zim, what's going on, bro?
Nothing much, man. We had a crazy day. I feel like where we interacted with people, what I call it the renaissance in sports, where Twitter space now has become this bloodbath of fandom, inside and out knowledge, just colliding every single day. And the people are choosing daily, like who they want to listen to. And it's created some crazy moments already. That's what I had as my highlight of my day. How about your day, sir?
Definitely hearing that Jets fans think that they're beating the Bengals again was definitely one of the highlights of my day. But we have another huge show upcoming for you guys. We've got NFL Draft Network guru Daniel Jeremiah is here to break down the Bengals draft and some of those picks and weigh in on the Burrow versus Herbert discussion. And then Zim let the people know earlier that he thinks that he has his list of top 10 running backs of all time. So we're going to get into those. And then the schedule is getting released. So you guys are going to get our live reaction to the complete Bengals schedule. So let's go. All right, we are going to welcome in Daniel Jeremiah to the show. Daniel, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I feel like the fact that we can take all of our names and we've got 2 3-letter names and 1 2-letter name. I feel like this is the most efficient show in terms of names that's ever existed.
Facts, for sure. It's definitely super efficient, for sure. While we have you in here, what are your overall thoughts on what the Bengals did in the 2022 draft?
I thought it was solid. Yeah, no, I thought it was really solid. You know, I thought they got a lot more athletic in the back end. They added a lot of speed, some versatility with the guys that they brought in there as well. So I like what they did from that perspective. You know, Volson, I'm looking through the rest of their list here. You know, Volson, I think's got outstanding makeup. He's got to play a little bit lower his pads, but you know, I think he's got some upside there. So that's an upside pick. And Gunter to me is a fascinating one because I watched him the previous year when they had another defensive lineman, ended up going to the Eagles late. Cannot remember his name, but I remember watching Coastal and I was like, wait a second, who's the other dude? The other dude I think is better than him. So I think you got something to work with, which to me, when you start talking about your later round picks, I want just something I can dream on, something I can hope on. And I thought they did a good job of that.
Right.
Sure.
Going into some of the other guys that I think you might be like a little bit higher up on. Talk to me about Dax. Talk to me about Dax Hill. I know you had him rated higher on your board than a lot of people. Do you see him as just primarily like a hybrid safety role, or is he a Swiss Army knife? Like, what is your overall impressions on Dax Hill?
Well, I think he's the best nickel in the draft. So, I mean, to me, like you just plug him in at nickel and he's ready to go. But he's also played as that high safety. I know some teams thought you could kick him out and let him play corner. So to kind of go to that Swiss Army knife thing, yeah, for sure. But sometimes like Swiss Army knife guys are guys that don't excel in any one area and they kind of just do a lot of different things. Like I think this guy's an elite nickel, and especially with what you can do with him, blitzing him and the competitiveness and the toughness that he plays with. You know, we used to always talk about nickels where you just kind of throw your undersized, you know, quick-footed athlete in there as a nickel. And then that's not the case anymore because these teams are going to put you in the run fit. So you got to be able to be a force player, be a tackler, to be able to blitz as well is a bonus. So he's got a little size to him. He's really, really tough and competitive. I think he kind of fits kind of what they're building there in Cincinnati.
Cam Taylor-Britt, the Bengals went with in the second round, and he was a little out of your top 50. What are some reasons or some things that he didn't make your top 50, and what are some things he may need to clean up?
So I'm going to look this up right now. So he was 60th. He was the 60th pick, right?
I believe so. I think you might have had him 63rd, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so I'm calling that we're speaking the same language then, because I'm kind of like right where he went. I felt like I really liked him. Even I felt like I liked him more than some teams when you talk to different teams. But again, you got somebody that runs in the 4.3s that's ultra competitive. That's kind of the tie that binds all these picks together. Is you got guys that are wired that way, feisty, tough, competitive. So I thought that was about the sweet spot, the right range for where he went. I'll look up the rest of my notes that I had on him. I thought he was physical versus a run. He can press and mirror. I thought he had plenty of recovery speed. He gets dinged in the Ohio State game because Olave got him, but it was just a concentration. He just lost his concentration for a second, got beat. But no, he's a competitive, tough kid.
Man, jumping on to let's go Let's go to the next round. Let's go Zach Carter then, because Zach Carter showed flashes in the Bama games. Overall, as my partner showed me, a lot of different statistical or analytical stuff behind it has shown us that he's got the ability to get off the ball really quick, different things like that. I know some people feel as though he won't work well on the edge. Some people feel like you can be able to get him on the outside. What are your overall impressions of Zach Carter?
It's funny because you could talk to, people and get this, they'll say the same thing, but one's a positive and one's a negative. So you talk to some people and they're like, the versatility, he can play inside, he can play outside. You talk to the next person and they'll be like, he's a tweener, I don't know if he's going to be great at any one thing. But you got somebody that's long, that can play with length. He's got a nice little inside counter move off the edge. I thought he was best just kind of jumping in gaps and using his quickness that way. When he gets kind of caught at the line of scrimmage, he can get washed and wiped. I would not be surprised if you saw him early in his career as he's kind of just your sub rusher and let him rush inside. That to me is a great entry point for him. Let him get some 3 technique stuff in sub and let him get in there and use that quickness and disrupt. Outside of that, to me, keeping him on the move, letting him shoot gaps and try and play, play in the cracks. To me, if you put him head up and ask him to sit there and hold the point of attack, that's not really who he is at this point in time. More of a penetrator. But I think that's the way the game's played. Everybody in the league is running outside zone and winning off play action. Like that's the whole league right now. So the best way to slow that down is with penetration. So that's somebody that can penetrate. So I like what he can do and what he can bring. You just got to use him the right way.
Yeah, with the Bengals 4th round pick, I honestly had to start doing Google searches to find out who this guy was. And you kind of talked about Volson earlier. When you're looking at those smaller school guys, is there something that you specifically look for that makes them stand out?
Yeah, I always like to tell the story about small school guys, and sometimes it's difficult, and that's when you might be a little bit of a cautionary tale. But I like to be able to flip the tape on, and without looking up your number. And if I can't figure out who the NFL prospect is, then you probably aren't an NFL prospect. But you could watch him and just see the way he moved. He's a really good athlete. Again, his biggest thing is he just got to lower his pads, bend your knees, and play with a little bit more leverage. But the foot quickness, the toughness, all that stuff's there. And I've heard the wiring, is excellent. So you've got a lot to work with. That's a good program too. They put out a lot of good players. It's just a bunch of, I keep using this word, but it's like this competitive, they've kind of just added a lot of that kind of gritty, competitive natured guys into this group.
Right. Just sticking with Volson really quick too. One thing that I worry about is the level of competition that he went up against. And then a lot of times you see him going even on reach blocks, even on different stuff where he's laying and pancake out a guy. Is that something that you think, because I know I don't know, did the Shrine game help him out? I don't know, moving forward or whatever. But aside from that, is that a thing that you worry about when you look at some of the guys that don't play for the Power 5?
Yeah, but I also look at it the other way and say that there's more meat on the bone. These guys haven't arrived yet. They're not finished products. So, and this is where you take him. It's one thing if you're taking a guy like that in the 1st round and you're expecting him to come in and immediately impact your team. And if he's not a dominant player at that level, that's not going to happen. But when I get outside those first couple rounds, again, give me traits, give me makeup, and then give me somebody who has a little bit more there. He can be more than what he is right now versus somebody from, you get somebody from Ohio State and you draft him in the 5th round, okay, he is what he is. That's just, and if he was good, he would be gone in the 1st round. So this gives you, to me, something to dream on and wish on. Does it guarantee you anything? No. But I think that's the philosophy. You had either on your mid to later round picks, you have 1 or 2 camps. I want do one thing really well, and you might be limited in other areas, or give me somebody that's raw that It's not there yet, but I believe in our development program that we can get him there. I prefer to take the development guys just because there's more of a payoff there.
Yeah, for sure. So one question that I have for you is obviously the Bengals went out and they fixed the offensive line through free agency and through the draft. What are your expectations for the Bengals in 2022?
Yeah, I mean, I was there in the Super Bowl in the stadium watching that, and I was sitting there going,
"Why we ain't see you? Where were you at? We could have hung out, had a drink.
You guys were in there?
Yeah, we were in there. We were in there.
Yeah, it was actually I was sitting right behind Logan Wilson's family. They all had like the Wilson family shirts on in there. But I took my son. We had a good time. He was in his full disclosure, don't tell my buddies with the Rams, but he was wearing his Joe Burrow jersey, so he was all ready to go out there. But you're just watching that game, and I'm sure
kid's going places.
That's an easy one to scout. You're in that stadium just thinking, man, like that just serviceable. Like I use the line, I've kind of used it a bunch in the spring, which is like the no tomato cans offensive line. Like I don't need 5 Hall of Famers. I just can't have any tomato cans. And that kind of mark where I've done it. I've been involved with those advanced scouting reports where you're going through and you circle, okay, left guard, right tackle. Like we're going to put our best dude. We're going to get him on him. We're going to slant. We're going to move the front, and we're going to get isolated on that dude, and we're going to tear him apart. Like you don't need 5 Anthony Munoz dudes up there. You just can't have that mark. And I think what they did in the offseason is they did a good job of kind of eliminating the marks. Like, they got to eliminate the tomato cans. That's all they got to do. The quarterback's so dang good. The rest of the skill positions are so dang good. They just need serviceable, solid guys. And I thought they did a good job of filling that out.
Do you think that'll lead to like more 5- and 7-step drops from the offense instead of the quick kind of stuff that they were doing last year?
I don't think you need to. I mean, that's not Joe. Like Joe's at his best, letting him just freaking get through progressions faster than anybody in the league and get the ball out of his hand. Like that's when he's at his absolute best. And you've got run after the catch merchants. So get the ball in their hands and let them go. So I think you'll still see him play with that type of rhythm and that type of pace because that's just where he's comfortable.
Sticking with the quarterback, my guy Joe. Why do you feel like? Let me ask you. You seem to be on the more positive end of it when you hear someone talk about like, hey, the Bengals fixed everything, their deficiencies or their main deficiencies in the offseason, right? Why do you feel like the national pundits as a whole aren't as high as on the Bengals as we are? Like most outlets that I see are picking the Bills, the Chargers. The Bengals here are the defending conference champs.
Yeah.
Fix their deficiencies. What is it that we're not getting?
Well, I think, part of it's market. That's just is what it is. You're going to have more attention go elsewhere. But, that being said, I think, Josh Allen is as amazing as Joe is, and I love Joe. Like, Josh Allen can do things on a football field that I don't know anybody else can do, at his size, with his athleticism and what he brings. He's just such a unique player. So I think people have that as part of the equation, when you're talking about Buffalo, and they've got, statistically, I would guess, I'd have to go back and look it up, but I'm pretty certain they were like a top 3 offense and a top 3 defense. So when you look at them statistically, you have that. They, the Bengals were able to finish the deal against the Chiefs, and the Bills, 12 seconds away from finishing the deal. So I think that's kind of the Bills thing. I think that's all warranted. On the Chargers front, I call their games, so I know that there is tremendous talent, and you go into that game last year against Cincinnati, which was a weird game, by the way. The deep ball that went from a touchdown to an interception is one of the
I've never seen that in my life.
Never. Weird play. But I think you've kind of got recent history there of them kind of facing each other. And the Chargers they have legit, as you guys know, they have legit dudes. The AFC's loaded. So, I get it. Cincinnati has a right to have a chip on their shoulder. They are the defending conference champs. But, man, it's not – I wouldn't take it as a slight if people are talking about the Chiefs and the Bills. And, these are real teams now. It's right. If you stacked it up, like how many teams in the AFC do you think could win the NFC?
Probably about 5 or 6 easily.
I'm about to say at least 5 or 6. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's why this year I don't remember a year like
maybe
this.
More.
I'm just looking at it from like I know we're talking about the Bengals, folks on the Bengals, but like doing the Charger games, like look what the Raiders did in the offseason, look what the Broncos did in the offseason.
Right.
The Chiefs are going to be the Chiefs. So I mean, like all these teams in the AFC got better. And the Bengals obviously got better. They fixed a lot of their deficiencies, and they have an elite quarterback and elite playmakers and elite pass rusher. Like, it's loaded, man. It's gonna be fun.
I'm gonna let you know the people. You said some things about Josh Allen by saying, "Hey, look, this guy does things on the football field that Joe can't." Cerebral Joe.
Joe's the fastest processor that I've ever evaluated. I'm on record with that. Like, I've never seen a process. That's a superpower.
And since you cover the Chargers, I think that's a natural transition to the one that we always hear most of the times, and I think it's warranted. Joe Burrow versus Herbert. Who you start your franchise with, and why?
Well, yeah, and again, it's a challenging question because they're both incredible players. To me, if you were going to say the play is called, and who's going to execute the play as called, I would probably lean towards Burrow. But I think Herbert, with his size and physicality and athleticism, obviously Joe's a really good athlete, can extend too, but just the size and physicality. I've seen Herbert with guys draped on him, hanging on him, and he's got ridiculous arm strength to still be able to get the ball anywhere on the field. So I think kind of maybe off the script, I maybe would lean a little bit more towards Herbert. I mean, I'll wimp out on it in terms of giving you just a clear-cut answer, one or the other, because I think they're just different. They're just different dudes. And when you think about Burrow, maybe Burrow can process quicker, but then you look at Herbert, and Herbert can, some of the throws he can make, I don't know, there's not many dudes that can make those throws, man. He's just so big and strong.
True. So looking at the matchups for next year and kind of looking at the draft, Sauce Gardner is going to be matching up against Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. We like to call them amigos. How do you foresee that matchup going?
Well, it's going to be fun. I mean, it's going to determine what happens at the line of scrimmage, because Sauce is really good at getting hands on people, and he's really comfortable on press, and he's got some recovery speed. But you don't want to, if you miss on either one of those guys, I don't care how good you are at corner, you're going to have trouble. So that's going to come down to whether or not he can be patient, and when he does throw his hands, you better land him, because if you lunge and whiff, that is over against both those dudes. So I would imagine you give the edge to the Bengals on that, just because they've got some experience with those guys, and he's just getting comfortable, getting his feet wet in the NFL. But he's my favorite corner in this draft, and he's a stud, man. He's a really, really good player. I think he's going to get there, but I think early on in his career, some of these premier dudes, he didn't get a chance to see a lot of those guys at Cincinnati. So that's going to be a little bit of an adjustment.
For sure. Those guys made it tough on Jalen Ramsey in the Super Bowl for sure. But DJ, we have a little addition that we want to do here. It's going to be know your prospects. It's kind of going to be a little bit of a speed round here. So okay. I'm going to give you something that you have written before about a prospect. Oh, no. And you have to guess which Bengals prospect. I will say that they are currently on the Bengals, and you have to essentially say which one it is. So the first one is, the first thing you said about this guy was fill, avoid, strike, wash, rinse, and repeat.
Fill, avoid, strike, wash, rinse, repeat. Okay, is that Logan Wilson?
It was not Logan Wilson.
Come on.
You actually said that about Joe Burrow.
Oh, fill, avoid. Phil, what the heck was Phil?
Like a feel for it, like he feels the pressure.
Oh, feel. Okay, all right. I just didn't hear that correctly. Yeah, so feel, avoid. Yeah. Okay, that's totally right. I thought you were saying Phil, like a linebacker is gonna like Phil. I'm like, crap, it has to be Logan Wilson. Okay, all right. I misheard that one. That's on me. That's my bad.
Speaking of Logan Wilson, how about that game he had in the Super Bowl?
Oh my gosh, yeah. His family, they got a workout because every time he'd make a play, they would jump up right in front of me, and I was like, that's a lot of squats that they're going up and down, up and down, up and down.
Right. Sure, all right, next one. Very athletic, middle of the field defender with the ability to cover in the slot. Damn, this is only athletic. Bengals players.
Okay, so that could be one of two players. That could be Dax from this draft class. I love Jesse Bates coming out though, and Jesse I thought could do that stuff. So I'm going to go Jesse, but I'm thinking it could be either one of those players.
Ding, 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 ding. We don't have enough money on the show yet to come up with the ding 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 noise, but you're Yeah, you're 1 for 2 right now.
By the way, Jesse Bates from Fort Wayne. I was born in Fort Wayne, so that kind of bonded us together there.
Can you give Jesse a call for us then?
I know. Yeah, Jesse's phone number currently not in my phone.
Okay. All right. Well, the people want Jesse, and we haven't had the direct contact yet, so maybe you could go to Fort Wayne.
You guys got to get Jesse on there. Fort Wayne. Come on, let's go.
Oh, for sure. So the third one here is off-field issues will make the evaluation tricky, but he's a special talent.
Is that Mixon?
Yes, sir. Ding, ding,
Okay, there
ding.
we
Joe
go.
Mixon.
Yeah, God, he was such a great player, man. Coming out like that tape was unbelievable.
Big, loose athlete with toughness and instincts. That sounds like anybody, bro.
Big, loose athlete with toughness and instincts.
I'll give you a clue. It's on the defensive side of the ball.
Okay, a big, loose athlete with toughness and instincts. Okay, I'm looking through it now.
He's trying to search his database to like.
No, I'm looking at the depth chart right here, so make sure that I'm not missing anything.
Okay, no cheating on this.
A big, loose athlete with toughness and instinct. I mean, is this like going way back? Like, is this?
This could be going way back. He wasn't originally drafted by this team.
Is this Eli Apple?
Yes.
What?
Is it really? Nice.
Yes, it's Eli.
I'd have never guessed that. That's crazy.
That was years ago. That was a long.
When I read that quote,
man.
though, I never thought that. Big loose.
No. Yeah, that's a long time ago. He's not that anymore. That's okay. He's 6'1", 200-pound corner. It's a big corner.
Yeah.
And at Ohio State, I thought he was loose. He didn't look loose in the Super Bowl, but not. I digress. Go ahead.
Eli's watching the show.
Eli's my guy too. Like we got to know each other through the process. But that wasn't great. Yeah.
Okay.
So the last one here is his play strengths remind me of Anquan Bolden.
Oh yeah, that's Jamar Chase.
Yes, sir.
That's why I said he was like a hyper speed version of Anquan Bolden, which is a crazy thing to say, but that's kind of who he is.
No, that's for sure. Well, DJ, we want to thank you for coming on the Wincinnati podcast and appreciate you spending some time here with us.
No, you guys are a lot of fun, man. I appreciate you guys having me.
Man, we're going to have to do this again coming up at some point. I really, really appreciate you more than anything. Very generous of you. I know you're super busy. Schedule's releasing. I think I just got my first full league. We got 5 prime times for the Bengals. I'm pretty sure Herbo's going to be in some prime times. We call him Jay Herbo around here. So
yeah. They got 5. They got 5 too. So it's going to be the AFC. It's going to be prime time for everybody in the AFC. It's going to be fun.
Well, thank you, Daniel. We appreciate you spending some time with us on the Wincinnati podcast.
I appreciate you guys. All the best.
Thank you.
All right. Daniel Jeremiah, the legend, just joined the Wincinnati podcast. Had some great things to say. But Zim, we're going to try to kill some time here before we end up moving on to the live schedule review. And we're going to talk about your top 10 running back list. So let's get into Zim's top 10 running backs of all time.
Can I take one? I just want to interchange one. One is Herschel Walker. Our producer, Ryan, came on, and he kind of lit into my shit early in a text message, and it made me feel a certain type of way. Then I had to go on Google because Herschel Walker, as far as the talent and what he did in college, it just never really whatever. But me growing up, I just remember Herschel Walker trucking people. But I'm going to go over my top 10. I'm going to pull it up right now. But that's the one person I think would be super interchangeable. Let's get him out of there. But my top 10, I'm going to start from number 10. Are you ready?
Yep.
You're ready?
Let's get it.
Number 10, Corey Dillon. So Corey Dillon's coming in at number 10. A lot of people didn't like that. Number 9, Emmitt Smith. I've never been a big fan of Emmitt Smith because I just felt like he always had an offensive line and a squad. My grandma probably could run through that offensive line and garner 100 yards a game. O.J. Simpson, number 8. Number 7, Herschel Walker, who shouldn't be on the list. Number 6, Adrian Peterson. Number 5, Marcus Allen. Very big argument. Yeah, that's an argument too. Number 4, Jim Brown, who I was not old enough to see, but going by everybody that's over the age of 35 plus, maybe 40 plus, there's nobody that would tell you Jim Brown wasn't number 1. I put Bo Jackson number 3 because I felt like his career was cut short, when he was running at his highest point, like the most unstoppable thing that the world has ever seen. Like whatever,
like the NFL version of Penny Hardaway, essentially.
Penny, the NFL version of Ja Morant. All right, number two, number two, Walter Payton. And then my personal favorite, number one, if he had an offensive line, if he had all the tools around him, Barry Sanders. That's my number one. So that's my top of 10.
Barry Sanders for me is definitely number one. I mean, like you said, he had nothing around him and still was like one of the most amazing running backs of all time. And there was no debate at all that he was going to take that record if he would have played longer. Obviously, he ended up cutting his career short. The only person, I know we talked about this list earlier, the only person that I felt that should have been on it was LaDainian Tomlinson, LT. I think he had 160 total touchdowns. He just was, anytime I think about LT, I just think about fantasy football in its infant stages. And if you had LT, you just literally were going to win almost every Sunday because this dude was out there running touchdowns in, throwing them, all kind of crazy stuff, catching them. And then possibly Marshall Faulk. But you guys in the comments, let us know who you would pick in your top 10 and make sure that you put it on there. But also make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you like this video. That helps Bengals fans find the podcast. And if you're listening at home, you can watch us on the Wincinnati Podcast YouTube channel. So we're there. And then if you're listening, you can find us in your podcast store, whether that's iTunes, whether that's Spotify. Please be sure to leave us a 5-star review because that helps other Bengals find Bengals fans find this podcast. I'm sorry, I got distracted because somebody said Eddie Lacy in the comments. but Zim, we've got another topic to talk about, and it's what we're hoping to see on the schedule. What are you hoping to see on the schedule? I know we got some leaks, but what are you hoping to see on the remaining thing?
I got the whole schedule, bro.
You said you got the whole schedule?
I got it.
Okay, ready. The next topic, though, is what you're hoping to see on the schedule.
All right. Let's do it. All right, now, what I hope to see is I wanted to see a Chiefs and Bill matchup early. I just want to get it out the way. I know a lot of people got a lot of smoke and talking about all this AFC North stuff. To me, I just came back from California Super Bowl. I know that winning the division is very important, but I just don't feel like those teams are really. I feel like, honestly, after going in these spaces and stuff, I feel like AFC North is a little, I'm not going to say overrated, but I think a lot of people are thinking they're going to be really, really good, and these teams all are heavily flawed, with the exception of the Bengals. Like, the Bengals aren't perfect, but I feel like the flaws that they have aren't as big. Like, the Ravens have some glaring flaws. The Browns have a glaring flaw at quarterback that might not play. And it's always the Browns. And then we talk about the Steelers. I mean, so I feel like a lot of people like, man, I can't wait to play. I'm like, bro, give me Chiefs and Bills. Let's get this conversation out the way. I got the best quarterback. I'm going to smoke whoever you're talking about. Even Daniel Jeremiah, you know me, the professional I am. I just don't think that Josh Allen in his 5th year offers more to the game of football than what Joe Burrow's already done already. Like, there's no world that you can convince me of that. The first 2 seasons of Josh Allen, like, he was almost about to be like they didn't even know if they were going to keep him, bro. He was working off of the promise and hope, and those things started to matriculate, and all these different things started to happen around him. But Joe Burrow out the womb been cooking. Like, this has never been done before. Like, I think people aren't that's what when I said national pundits, I just thought that, you know, like, that's the observation that I get from a lot of people, is that they're not seeing what's really going on. Joe Burrow has won day one. Josh Allen did not. And Herbert had a chance to get in the playoffs, and he did not. He fell on his face.
So speaking of cooking, we got to send it over to our good friends at Midwest Best Barbecue, and we're going to cue up that commercial now.
Wings, and we got you with them on our wings. On our wings. They tell me that the on our wings will make you do the grenade. The on our wings will make you do the grenade. On our wings. On our wings. Come and get them on our wings. On our wings. Who they gonna beat them on our wings. On our wings, and we got you with them on our wings. On our wings, they tell me that the on our wings will make you do the grenade. The on our wings will make you do
sir. Shout out to the Midwest Best Barbecue. You can catch them at 669 Justice Court in Loveland, Ohio. Make sure you get you some barbecue. Make sure you get you some Uno wings. We're still doing the Uno wings special giveaway. So if you tweet me and Zim on Twitter, I'm at New Stripe City. He's at Zim Hude. Send us your Uno wings video. We got you. But Zim, the schedule just dropped, bro. So we're going to go ahead and get into this. Week 1, we already all knew this as fans at the beginning, earlier today, September 11th, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kenny Two Gloves.
Kenny Two Gloves.
He's coming to Paul Brown Stadium. What are your thoughts on week 1, us versus the Steelers?
I want to say this. I feel like Kenny Pickett getting so much. It's so Baker Mayfield-ish, like that. I just feel like,
is Andy Dalton coming or is it Kenny Pickett? Is it the same person?
Bro, I honestly believe in my heart of hearts, like we're not going to speak about Kenny Pickett after this first season in the NFL. I don't know if that's a bold prediction or what, but I just don't think like his game is going to translate to the NFL. And we had Goodberry in our spaces earlier today. He had some really good things to say about Pickett. It's just this overall pressing need that I see a lot of quarterbacks with that turn the ball over. They do the same thing in the NFL, and I just think that that's going to be the same thing. Do you have any thoughts on Kenny Pickett?
I'm ready. I'm just ready to see him week 1. But moving to week 2, Dallas Cowboys. Now, this was rumored by fake accounts saying that it was going to be the Thanksgiving game, but it's week 2. I believe it's on the road in Jerry's World. 425. What are your thoughts of going into the Big D? You don't know? You don't know how you feel about it?
I'm sorry. Can you say it again?
Okay, I said the Dallas game. What are your thoughts on going into Dallas?
I'm sorry, my audio had went out for a second, but it was my AirPod. It went out. But Dallas, I want to go to Jerry World, so I'm ready for that. So that's 100. Like, is that a game you think? What are the games you think you're going to travel to?
Jerry World might be that one because I wanted to go to the home opener very bad, especially with it being against Pittsburgh. But it's actually during my daughter's birthday weekend, so I might have to actually go to the Jerry World's game instead. I think that's going to be an exciting game, though. I mean, the Cowboys. You look at that offense that they have over there. You talk about the CeeDee Lamb. He was taken, I believe, before T. Higgins. You got Jamar Chase. There's going to be a lot of points, I think, scored in that game. So I would love to go to Dallas and go to Jerry's World. And the first time that I go to that stadium, it'd be a Bengals game. So I'm definitely excited for that one. After that, we talked about the Jets fan earlier in the spaces. At New York Jets week 3, what are your thoughts on that? So I think Zim is having some audio issues there.
Connection issue with my pod. I'm sorry, but yeah, the Jets game. What about the Jets?
Are you excited for that game, or is it just like business as usual?
Come on, man. Like the Jets, bro. Like I don't know. Like I'm gonna tell you one thing I don't sleep on is the Jets in the trenches on the defensive side of the football. I think that they'll come. Like, we know Carl Lawson's going to ball out and everything like that.
CJ Uzama's coming back.
Okay. Okay. Like people think that I think maybe even me. I'm gonna just say this overall, and I've told you this many times about the schedule and stuff. All of this stuff seems like, okay, here we go. You gotta go up against da-da-da. As the year goes on and guys fall off, guys get hurt, all these things start to change. And I look at the Jets and I'm just like, you never know. Like, any given Sunday they could knock us off. You know what I mean? But at the same time, if I'm at full strength, coming off a Super Bowl run, that's not. If you're a Bengals fan and somebody tell you that, like you're looking past teams, it's not that you're looking past it. It's just. What
they're giving us an opportunity to kind of get out here to a quick start, I think.
The beginning of the season starts off really sweet. I will say that.
Switching gears here, a lot of people speculated that the Bengals were going to get 5 primetime games. We do have 5 primetime games. The first one being week 4 against Miami. Then right after that, we're on primetime again for Sunday Night Football against Baltimore. Then we're going to be on primetime versus Cleveland. So Deshaun Watson potentially versus Joe Burrow. They're going to square off. Then week 11, Sunday Night Football.
Would do. Did you think that the
Two
league would even
Gloves?
do that?
Kenny Two Gloves is getting another one. And then we've got Buffalo.
Why are the Steelers even on that?
Buffalo has the Monday Night Football matchup week 17. But yeah, say that again, Zone.
I was saying, why are the Steelers? Why are they even like in primetime games with it? Like, can you imagine? Like last year, the Bengals couldn't buy a primetime game. Why are the Steelers on primetime football with Trubisky? I don't even know if Kenny Two Gloves will start or whatever. Like what? And then the other thing that caught me off guard: Deshaun Watson primetime. Like the league is really ready for that. Like an announcer in between. In between plays, you start to reflect on like what happened. Yeah, the league is really about to do that prime time. That's kind of crazy to me.
Well, I think the thought process is from them by week 8, we'll know whether or not he's suspended or what's going on there. But I think the Battle of Ohio is always something that they want to put on prime time. And I think with the Steelers game, it seems to be something where I guess they remember 2015, how many ratings that game had. So I'm thinking that they're thinking by week 11, apparently they think Kenny Pickett is going to be that guy enough to duel with Joey B on Monday Night Football. Sunday Night Football.
I get that Steelers are like the biggest fan base like in the history of them and the Cowboys, right?
Mm-hmm.
But did anybody watch that offense last year? Like, you really want to put that on prime time? Like, them dudes was trash on there. Like, seriously. Like, that wasn't even – the Steelers-Lions game, I'll never forget. I'll be 90-something years old, and I'll be like, son, don't ever watch the Steelers versus Lions game in 2021. That was the worst. I didn't even consider that a football game, bro. It was that bad. And then I watched them other weeks as well. Very bad brand of football and not good for marketing. Like they don't score points. They didn't do anything.
Yeah, they really struggled to score points last year for sure. Kenny Two Gloves is going to be an upgrade over Ben, but they still have a lot of questions to answer about that offense. I think that's why they waited until week 11. They're thinking like maybe by then it'll be a more entertaining game. Right. But yeah, I agree with you. They definitely had some issues there. I just want to go through real quick just to make sure everybody gets the games. So week 4, Miami, week 5 at Baltimore, week 6 at New Orleans, week 7, Atlanta at home, week 8 at Cleveland. That's the Monday Night Football that we were just talking about, the Carolina game. And then they get a bye week 10. After the bye, they open up against Pittsburgh, Sunday Night Football. Week 12, they get Tennessee. At Tennessee, so they get that rematch. And then they get another familiar foe week 13 with the rematch of Kansas City. So we get to see that at 425. Week 14, they take on Cleveland. Week 15, they're at Tampa Bay. So you will see Joey B take on Tom Brady. And then week 16, ironically, they go to New England. And they're going to play that game, it looks like, on a Saturday. And then week 17, Buffalo, Monday Night Football. They end the season at Baltimore. That might be Saturday or Sunday, depending on how things shake out.
What do you think about that? All right, so the beginning of the season, you say you think they're getting off to a hot start. End of the season, what do you think?
End of the season, they getting some heavy hitters for sure. Like, I think the easiest one in that stretch, and not to disrespect anybody specifically, but if I'm going week 12 through week 18, the easiest game to me looks to be the Tennessee one. I think that's probably the last easy game for them. And then you get Kansas City, you get Cleveland, you get Tampa Bay, you get New England, you get Buffalo, you get Baltimore. I like that, though, because at that point, that's going to show us what this team is. Like, if you got to get back to the Super Bowl, not only if you run through those teams and come into the playoffs after that, that's a pretty good run of teams that you'll likely have to go. Obviously, this is early, but that you'll likely have to go through. And not only the playoffs in the AFC, potentially the Super Bowl if we're talking Tampa Bay. So I think that's a great ending to the season for them.
The thing I don't like about it is that those are going to be some hard-fought games. Mm-hmm. And then you don't want to limp into the playoffs. I think it gets you battle tested, but I don't want to limp into the playoffs. And the Bengals can't afford to, with this AFC gauntlet, you can't afford seeding, you can't afford anything. So the only game potentially that I could even fathom guys sitting or resting would be the final game of the season against the Ravens. But aside from that gauntlet, you know that's going to be a bloodbath to get out of it healthy. So that is one thing that I do think about. Is like, can I get this team in situations where it's less stress on these starters? Because ultimately, no matter what seed it is, you know, of course we want home field advantage. Of course we want to be able to get the bye, you know, all these different things. But ultimately, if I have a healthy Joe Burrow, healthy Logan Wilson, healthy Higgins, healthy DJ Ritter in the main core of our team, I don't have a concern at all. Like, that's why I look at the schedule like, just get me out of it healthy, take me to the playoffs, and I'll cook up whoever you want. Let's get it.
Yeah, I'm ready. I mean, I think that this, to me, looks like it'll be a fast start for the Bengals, and that's no disrespect to anybody. I'm just looking at the way this is opening up. I think you get that bye week 10, and then it's like the playoffs are starting early for us. And let's go ahead and let's get it. Like you said, let's stay healthy and run through it. But yeah, that's exciting to see the schedule come out. I think that the Bengals could potentially even have more of those primetime games, depending on flexing and things like that. The only thing that I wish is that we had on this schedule a Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert rematch. But obviously, we knew when the opponents came out, that wasn't going to be one. But maybe in the playoffs, we'll see. We'll have
if Jay Herbo, I want to tell someone called Daniel Jeremiah coming back. Tell him if Jay Herbo is good enough to get to the playoffs this time, then we'll see him, and I'll definitely be able to, you know, match him up, because I know he thinks that Herbo is really good, and I believe him and I trust him, but I need to see it, and I want to be able to see it. If y'all missed it, we had a great interview with Daniel Jeremiah earlier. He was awesome. I thought it was super dope. He had some really good insight. So if you came late, please make sure you rewatch this episode. Make sure you comment. Make sure you share with a friend, because we can give you big fish if you share the water. Is that like a new quote or something? That's new. I just ran it.
Well, thank you guys for listening to the Wincinnati podcast.
Woo!
Yes.
Hello, world. We got a special show as always. TJ Houshmandzadeh, Jimmy Chase, Coach Jimmy Burrow.
Exciting time to be a Bengals
How do
fan.
you balance being a professional athlete and family obligation? These are top 5 Bengals of all time.
All time, man. Yeah. Shock the world.